Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We have Dave Roberts now available for questions. Please use the raise your hand icon if you have some questions. Oh, a question from Carrie Osborne. Go ahead, Carrie. Question from Brooks Smith. Go ahead, Brooks.
Hey, Dave, circling back to yesterday, wondering if you've heard anything from the league yet on Joe Kelly. I know I've seen a few guys say something about a possible suspension, but nothing solid yet. Have you heard anything?
I got a call this morning from the league, and they're kind of trying to be swift about this. So they're kind of, taking information from all parties, and they'll make a decision. But right now, I don't know the outcome.
And then with Dustin May, do you anticipate any sort of pitch limit or innings limit today?
Obviously it's all contingent upon, how he's throwing, the stress of certain innings. But I think, 75 to 80 pitches is reasonable.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next question is from Pedro Mora. Go ahead, Pedro.
Hi, Dave. How is Clayton reported feeling today? And do you have a target date for his return?
He feels good. Yesterday after that up and down went well. He'll throw on Thursday. So, obviously, with Thursday being his pen day, one of those games in Arizona, but if it's not Arizona, we'll see when it is. But I'm encouraged that it'll be sooner than later.
On this road trip, you expect him to start for you?
We do.
Cool. Thanks.
Question from Carrie Osborne. Go ahead, Carrie.
Hey, Dave, obviously the day after you get a little more information about how a pitcher feels, can you talk about, have you had a chance to talk to Walker and what do you feel like is the next direction for him?
Yeah, he'll make his next start. And today's his day one. He lifts and he said he felt good. Not really any soreness, which is a good thing. And yeah, I could have let him go a little bit longer, but just want to make sure that we build him up, the right way. But, his next turn, he'll be up to, 5 and 75, something like that.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Got a question from Rowan Kavner. Go ahead, Rowan.
Hi, Dave. A lot of guys complimented Dustin's ability to attack the strike zone in that first start for opening day. When you think back to that start, was that maybe the aspect of it that stood out the most to you?
Yeah, I think that Dustin is not going to nibble. That's not part of his DNA. But I just think being on the attack, his command was really good. And that's where any young pitcher where the stuff could be there, but just the consistency of his command is obviously really important. And so that certainly stood out most. And it's a good lineup. You know, we're seeing a good lineup, heavy right-handed. But, you know, I think Dustin has a mix to really keep these guys at bay.
Thanks.
From Dave Essay. Go ahead, Dave.
Hi, Dave. I was just wondering if you thought before the games the umpires might try to get ahead of it and issue warnings. Are you anticipating that?
There was talk on the call that I had, and I think that it's a possibility, but umpires typically don't like to issue warnings before the game is played because it kind of gets players, pitchers on edge. And even if they are, it's still a judgment. So whether issues or warnings are issued or not, it's still a judgment call if there's clear intent on hitting a player.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I have a question from Jorge Castillo. Go ahead, Jorge.
Dave, just with you mentioned discipline. Did you hear anything from Major League Baseball about just the idea of players being so close together? Anything about that or possible discipline from that?
Yeah, they weren't pleased. Baseball right now, we're under a microscope, which we should be. And so us as coaches, myself included, I have to do a better job of making sure guys stay on the bench. And, you know, last night when tempers flared, I try to get out there to kind of keep it at bay and minimize it. But I also got to make sure guys stay on the bench to follow the social distancing protocols.
In that regard, is like arguing with umpires or just discussing something with them, is it awkward now? Given
it's different in the sense that they gotta try to scramble to get their mask on because they're not wearing masks for the most part. Yeah, you're trying to keep that close, you know, you're trying to keep your social distance. But if there is something, there's a confrontation. Yeah, I'm wearing my mask, and I think managers across baseball are, and you just got to be mindful of not getting too close, I guess.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question from Eric Steven. Go ahead, Eric.
Dave, I'm sorry if I missed this earlier, but do you have a Friday starter, or is that still to be determined?
Still to be determined. We're going to know. We should know here soon. But you know, with the way yesterday went, we have some guys at the satellite camp. We got taxi, got options in the bullpen. So we really not ready to say who it is because we really don't know.
Sure. I was just wondering if it is someone from the taxi squad. I mean, not the taxi squad, from the satellite camp. How does that work? I know you have a taxi squad so they can sort of avoid commercial air travel. Do you charter a plane for new guys coming in, or how does that work?
I would say if that's the case, that player will have to drive from USC at Los Angeles to Phoenix.
Okay. So in other words, if you're going to choose someone from there, they'll probably know today. So
Correct.
Start driving.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Yep.
Question from Bill Plunkett. Go ahead, Bill.
Dave, when Clayton threw yesterday, did you go into it planning for him to do another one, or is that a decision that was made after he saw how he felt, how he threw?
That was made after we saw how he threw.
And what was it about the way it went that made everyone decide to do it again?
Yeah, just for him to do his normal 30, 32 pitch warm up pregame, and then to do 10, 15 pitch up and down. And for him to come out of that, we just felt that was a huge positive. And just talking to the medical staff and Mark, for him to now throw just a regular side session bullpen before a start would be the next hurdle. And so we just felt that that's the next thing to do as opposed to just getting him into a game. So that's why we chose not to just start him on Friday.
nothing about the way he threw gave you any reason to be more cautious.
No, actually, it was more encouraging, if anything.
And no interest in throwing to hitters or a sim game, any of that kind of thing before you
No,
get to the game?
we just didn't feel that it was long enough that he had been away from that kind of action. So not really necessary.
What's your perception or your sense of things as we sit here a couple hours before game time? Did last night release some tensions or increase them?
I think it released. This is something that's been built up over the course of 7 months, after kind of the findings. So, yeah, I think it's just sort of kind of released. I think it was unfortunate, but I guess to spin it, it's a good thing that we got out of the way. Nobody was hurt, and we can move on and play baseball. So
do you assume that when Joe Kelly blew out the window at his house, that was just his way of providing cover?
I don't think that Joe is that far ahead of things. I just think it speaks to his ability or inability at times to not hit the target.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Another question from Jorge Castillo. Go ahead.
Dave, did you feel the need to address the team at any point, or will you feel the need to before the game, just to make sure things don't boil over again?
I'm going to talk to the guys today briefly about leaving the bench, and I think that Major League Baseball is really serious about this, as well as they should be. So I've got to reiterate how important it is for guys at any cost to stay on the bench. So
are you worried that the Astros will retaliate? I know you mentioned just now you think it's over, but it takes two to decide that it's over.
I'm not worried. I don't think they will. If they do, then I believe that the umpires will address it and act accordingly.
Thank you.
Yep.
Another question. I have a question from Ron Cervenka. Go ahead, Ron.
Yeah, Doc, real quick. Is Joe Kelly available tonight, or are you going to get out of town without him in there?
Joe Kelly is available tonight.
I think that's it. Thanks, Doc. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.